The most precious gift that we have is time. And if you blow that, if you waste that, you have got nothing. Yeah, you're creative and intuitive, but if you're not doing anything with all of that, you feel lethargic and sometimes even depressed. This is the time of your life to do it.
So how does a 16-year-old girl turn into an entrepreneur in Canada?
I love what I do, so it never feels like work. I truly enjoy it. It gives me meaning in life.
But a lot of people think you just kind of came out like this, right onto Instagram. What was that like growing up, and what was your family unit like?
There's certain things that I experienced there really also made an impact on my life. Observing death so early in your life. Soldiers were just shooting innocent people on the streets. I can imagine how my mom felt with two girls. Any one of us could have been shot, you know? But now, I wouldn't change anything because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't appreciate the things I have. I wouldn't have worked as hard as I have. When you have a dream and you want something, it's not just going to happen. You have to work for it. The more you do that, you'll just uncover your own hero's journey.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go? This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Mimi Ikonn is known around the world as an influencer, an author, an entrepreneur. She's got millions and millions of followers. Most people don't know is that she grew up in Azerbaijan when it was still part of the Soviet Union, and yet she was a dreamer. She always dreamed about going to crazy lands and meeting people and doing amazing things, and that's exactly what she made happen. She designed her life and she manifested it. And that's what she's here to talk about, how you can take your dreams and turn them into reality, use gratitude and positive thinking to get what you want. Also, it was great because Mimi really opened up about her depression and her anxiety and how she's dealt with those things in her life. So pay attention to everything in this episode. She talks about motherhood, about business, about how to find the right partner, and I know you're gonna enjoy this incredible conversation with Mimi Ikonn. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Mimi Ikonn, the entrepreneur, author, and influencer. Born in Azerbaijan, you emigrated to Canada when you were 16 years old and later co-founded Luxy Hair with your sister Leyla and your husband Alex. The company experienced incredible growth, now with over 250,000 customers in more than 165 countries. The Luxy YouTube channel gained over 3 million subscribers, making it the largest hair channel in the world and turning you and Alex into well-known lifestyle influencers. You're the author of the book Bingo Theory, A Revolutionary Guide to Love, Life, and Relationships, which teaches balance in masculine and feminine energies in order to be successful in life. Mimi, welcome back to London Real.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Great to have you
It's a
here.
pleasure.
It's been 3 or 4 years.
It's been at least 4.
4, yeah?
It's been 4 years since I've been back here in the studio. It is a new studio. I'm really excited for you. Looks really nice.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. A few changes between now and then. We both became parents.
Huge changes,
Yeah,
really.
Quite a big change. I don't think we even talked about it last time you were here. Was it even on your mind?
I think it was. Obviously it was. I mean, at that point I knew I was ready to get pregnant. It was just a matter of time. And I think shortly after I was on London Real, I got pregnant with Alexa, yeah.
Oh, wow. So it was right then. Okay. You kind of remember it by the times.
Yeah, definitely.
And what can you tell us now that you're on the other side?
Oh my God, it's such a massive life change, having a child. I never took it lightly, and I think that's why it took Alex and I 6 years of marriage to make a decision. Well, actually more me, not so much Alex, because as soon as we got financially successful, Alex was like, babe, whenever you want to have a baby, let's just go for it. But I just knew from observing other parents, or even myself being a child and my parents, how much they had to struggle and work and the dedication it takes to raise a human being, I knew that I have to feel ready. I never wanted to be in a situation where it happens and I resent a child because I'm not ready. Right. So I definitely was very careful for that to happen only when I would be mentally, emotionally prepared to give to this human being. And then I was so grateful that I got pregnant, because so many people struggle nowadays even to get pregnant. So it's a huge blessing. I got pregnant, I had a healthy child, and it's been an amazing experience, but definitely life-changing, because the biggest shift that happens when you have a child is that you live your whole life where you're the center of the world. You're kind of your own, not God, but like you truly are the center. Everything revolves around you. And then you have a child, and overnight, everything changes. They become the center, You can't just make a decision without considering them. Of course you could, obviously, but I feel like most parents don't. So I think that was the biggest shift in considering her in every single tiny decision. Even like, can I go to the grocery store because she needs me right now? Can I commit to this thing or that thing? And also just in general for myself, I stepped back quite a lot in the last few years, because I made that conscious choice to be very present, especially in these first few years of her life. To be there. I think it's the biggest gift a parent can do and give to their child is the presence. See, a lot of parents, they say, oh, I work really hard for my child. I do this for you. But kids, they don't need your financial success. They don't care about gifts. I mean, those are nice. But what they mostly want and need is our attention, our presence. And I just want to shower her with that, especially in the first 6 years, they say it's the most important time. You had Bruce Lipton on your show, and I love his work so much, and how he talks about the subconscious mind. You know all about that now.
Yeah.
Because you had the pleasure of meeting him in person, and how in those first 6 years, the subconscious mind gets programmed. And then it's like a computer, then that computer runs your whole life. And anytime I share this information, by the way, with anyone, those people say, this is so unfair, but we don't get to choose what gets programmed. Exactly. So to me, it just puts a bit more pressure to me as a parent to be more mindful and to really do my best and be careful with the words I say, the beliefs that I pass on to her, and how I live my own life, because ultimately that's what they absorb. It's what we do day to day, not what we say.
That's the big thing, right? They
That's
watch.
the biggest, yeah, they watch everything.
They watch so much. I'll get on the floor and do a down dog, and before I can even say anything, the boys are doing it too.
Yep.
And if that's not a reminder of, they copy everything.
I feel like now, because they're around the same age, like Alexa, maybe a year older, now especially you see it more, because they're so quick to copy. And I literally will be doing something or saying something, and then she just repeats it. And I'm just becoming more and more aware every single day that I need to be more mindful of every step. I know it's a lot of pressure, and some parents say, oh, it's just too much, who cares? But ultimately, it's your decision, it's your choice whether you care to pass on your own crap and your own issues. Because as you know me, I had to deal with I still am dealing with a lot of my own emotional issues that were passed down from my childhood. And I just want to make sure I pass the least amount of that crap to her. That's my job. It's just allow her to be her and not pass down my own limiting fears, limiting beliefs, and all of those things. But it takes a lot of conscious thinking not to pass that down.
Are there certain things that you really go out of your way to just make sure that she doesn't kind of hear or see or believe that maybe mainstream London does believe? Are there things where you're like, you know what, I'm going to make sure that, it's not
even those things. I'd say it's even more the little things. Okay. For example, I never say no to her. It doesn't mean I allow her to do everything. It's just how I rephrase things. I say, instead of saying, no, you can't do that, I say, I can't let you. So it's just rephrasing things and then allowing her also to try and fail. For example, when she was learning how to walk, I would just let her go at it. If she tried to hold my hand, of course I would support her. But if I saw her trying to hold on to something and I know she's gonna fall, I wouldn't rush out there to save her. I would let her fall. Like, it's okay, she'll fall, she'll get up, she'll learn. And she'll walk really fast. She's now talking sentences at only 2.5. And I truly believe, of course, she's her own person, but a lot of it has to be with me just allowing her space and allowing her to like solve her own issues. Even as she's playing with her little toys or doing something, I'm not rushing in to like do it for her. So many parents do that because I'm paying attention now. I'm around other parents. It's like they try to play for the kids, draw for the kids, talk for them. And I just step back and I just try to be more quiet and allow her to be and just observe and reflect what she is to her.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting about that. Don't say no.
Yeah.
One of my guests, Dan Pena, the $50 billion man, his mom did the same thing. She read Dr.
Really?
Spock. I think Dr. Spock said that, the whole book. And so
really? No, I don't know about that. I'm going to look into it.
she actually held him until he was like 3 years old
Held
because
him.
the floors she thought were dirty. And so I think he actually could never actually walk correctly, but she also never said no to him. And he believes that's what built his self-esteem to
So
where now
interesting.
it's at this almost kind of scary level of self-esteem that he has. But he said that same thing.
Yeah, but I want to make sure everybody understands because I don't want people to take it the wrong way. It's not that I allow her to do everything. It's just rephrasing, because when we say, you can't do this, it goes in the subconscious mind, becomes a belief. I can't do this. When I say, I can't let you, I'm speaking from a different perspective, which doesn't pass on that belief that they can't do something.
Right.
And then, of course, you always explain why. So if she wants to touch something that's fragile, I know she's going to break, or a knife, I say, I can't let you touch a knife because you're going to hurt yourself and you're going to start bleeding, and then, the whole situation.
Right.
So you always explain instead of saying, no, stop, never. Those words, just not in my vocabulary.
Okay. The one thing is, the only time I say no now is when like Caden pushes his brother or hits his brother. It doesn't happen that often, but I'm just
But again, you can grab his hand and say,
Yeah.
I can't let you hit your brother because it hurts him. And I
Okay.
know you're very caring and kind. So bring that out more. So it's about always focusing on what you want them to do rather than what you don't want them to do. And most of the world is doing the opposite. Like, I was raised the opposite way, and I know most people do that.
Yeah.
Like, we always tell the kids what not to do. How about focusing on what you want them to do?
Right.
Because
And then
that's
explain why.
actually
It's good for leadership, good for business
absolutely.
too, right?
And I'm the same way in the rest of my life. I just mostly avoid the word no, period. I just rephrase it.
Yeah. And when you took a step back from
Yeah.
all the broadcasting, because I think when I had dinner with you guys years ago, pre Alexa, you were doing like 2 videos a week and probably more.
It was
I mean, you
crazy.
were producing a lot. Did you miss it in the last few years?
Oh my God, yeah. It's probably been the hardest thing for me because, as you know, I am a workaholic. And it's not just I like to work, I love what I do. So it never feels like work. I truly enjoy it. It gives me meaning in life. And when I had Alexa, I had the idea that I will be able to do everything at the same pace and level. And the wake-up call after,
right?
Yeah, because I always have, but
Right.
this is a whole new territory. And then I just realized something's gonna give. And then as I scaled it in my mind, well, this child is gonna grow up and become independent very soon. Work and other things that I need to do, I feel like I'm here in this world to share my gifts or the value I'm here to bring. That's not going anywhere. I can still do that in 3 years and 4 years, but I cannot have this time back. And every time I feel this feeling where I'm not doing enough, and trust me, I feel it almost every single day, because I truly feel in my heart that there's so much more I need to be doing. It's just my nature, I guess. I don't know.
Like what? What more do you need to be doing?
Like, I feel like I can bring so much value. Like, I feel like I've gotten so many gifts from life that I need to share them. I know there's so many people struggling in this world, not just financially, that we know, but internally, like they're in a scarcity mindset, they're feeling lonely, they don't believe in themselves. And because I'm on the other side, I had glimpses of certain things in my earlier years of those limiting beliefs or those struggles that once you get on the other side, I feel like you genuinely want to help, because when you see somebody struggling, you want to like put your hand there and say, come to the other side. It's possible, it's real, you can get here. And I feel like when I hold these gifts inside of myself, it hurts me. But at the same time, like the last 3 years, I just knew that I had to be more present with Alexa, because again, this is going away very shortly. Like at 3, she's gonna start like almost full-time nursery slowly. And then I'll have more hours of my day to do what I want to do. So I'm really excited. Not that I haven't been working. I want to make it clear. I've been working every day, evenings and mornings, or like whenever she would nap. But it's like not the same, because before that, I would be working morning till like sometimes 9, 10 p.m. in the office. And it's very different when you have a child. You just can't work at the same pace unless you outsource the parenting.
And now it's time for the boy, right?
I'm fine. I'm good for now.
No more kids. One and done, as they say?
To be honest, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say for sure it's not going to happen. I just know that for me to have another child, I would have to be in the same place where I feel like I have to give. I don't feel like it's fair to bring a child and not be there for them. That's just my belief. I know everybody does it their own way. If you're a parent, you're watching this, please don't feel bad or don't judge yourself. Maybe your parenting style is different. Everybody has a different path. And as long as you feel right in your heart, whichever way you're parenting, that's the right way. So for me, I think because my nature is just so responsible, I take such huge responsibility. As you can see, like even being so mindful about every single word I say to her, and I'm also idealistic. And being idealistic in life makes things quite a bit difficult.
Explain
I'm
that.
grateful I met Alex. Like even when it came to men, I knew that I want like a certain type of male who will be strong and ambitious, but also romantic and kind and emotional and also successful in life financially. So like everybody would say it's never gonna happen. Like my mom used to always say, like, you don't really clean or, well, I cook well, but like, you're not a good housewife, basically. Like, how are you gonna be a wife? And I said, don't worry, the guy's gonna help me out. And I got exactly the idealistic version of who I wanted to meet. He's amazing. I'm so grateful to have Alex in my life. And same way, I always envision myself to be this present parent that is there for the child. And now that Alex is becoming more independent, I feel more comfortable, like, allowing her for more freedom and like going to school and starting nursery, etc.
And when you say you're idealistic, that means that you have this vision of what everything should be, and it's always the best. And then you go for it and make it happen, or die trying, or you just
basically
work hard enough until it does happen.
That's exactly. I'm laughing because I told Alex the exact same sentence, like do it or die trying. And I was talking more about business because I have this other idea to do something. And he just says, go for it. And I'm like, even if it doesn't succeed, I'll just, I'll die trying, but at least I know I tried. So yeah, that's pretty much my style of doing everything.
Sometimes it's a good mentality.
Yes,
sometimes
not
it gets
all
you in
the
trouble.
time.
Not always.
Sometimes you just have to let go and chill. But I feel like I'm definitely learning that too.
Okay, and you really want to get back in there and mix it up.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm so excited to be working more.
Okay, yeah, I feel the same way. Even if I'm off like a half a day, something doesn't feel right in me. I just feel like.
Do you think something is wrong with us?
Perhaps, but like the older I get, and I've been through this crazy life now, I realize that I've only got a finite number of time.
That too.
I'm actually lucky to still even be here, and I'm in this great place where I have this amazing platform, and I just figure, you know what? Now is the time to go all in with every hour of every day to make something amazing or help more people.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. Like
even
who knows?
Tomorrow.
Or tomorrow, exactly. And then maybe it won't happen for 50 years. And then, wow, what can we do? Making real transformation, maybe global consciousness, perhaps. So, or maybe I'm just restless and hard on myself. Could be that too.
I think a little bit of all of those things.
Yeah. But I mean, if you can find a balance where you can have a smile and you can have a family and still take care of your body and your mind, then you're probably doing something right.
And I think it's important to lead by example, as I said before. So if it is very important to you to do the work, you cannot shut that part of yourself and pretend to your child that, they're more important, if that's not your reality.
Right.
And that's the balance I'm still trying to draw for myself, because I kind of did that to myself the last couple of years. I mean, I still been putting out work every single day. I'm like I said, I'm doing stuff, but again, not to the same extent. And anytime I start feeling resentment, I just say, okay, then I have to do more work. Like I have to push myself harder because also everything I do, she gets to see now, especially now that she's older. And even if I get to miss out on a few hours of being with her, I get to explain to her. Like even today, I was leaving and she's like, she's going to school for a few hours, to a Montessori school that she attends. And she's like, I don't want you to go to work, because I told her I'm going for an interview, but to her, that's all labeled as work. And I said, Alexa, I know that you don't want me to go to work, so always acknowledge what they're saying.
Right.
I know that you don't want me to work. You always want me to be with you, but this really makes me happy. Do you want mama to be happy? And she's like, yeah. So, especially now as they get to understand more and more, I feel like all these little steps and things that we share with them day to day can also make them aware how in their life they want to find something that makes them happy.
Right.
They want to work hard for it, even if that means some certain little sacrifices here and there, or big sacrifices once in a while, like moving across the world from your parents, or your whole family, everything, just because maybe there's an opportunity somewhere else. So everything we do, we need to explain, and we need to always, always, always lead by example, even if you don't have kids. Everything you do inspires those around you. And we can all talk a good talk, but if you're not doing it, I always like to say, actions speak louder than words. I don't care what people say. It's like, okay, goes in one ear, comes out of the other. Show me what you want. Show me what means to you. Show me why you're here. And ultimately, that's more powerful.
Much more. Tell me about the 3-year-old Mimi. Like, what was she like?
3-year-old Mimi.
Because a lot of people see you and they see Wonder Woman, and why wouldn't they? Because you are idealistic and you have gotten those ideals in lots of parts of your life. And I'm not saying you're perfect, and I want to talk about that later.
Nobody is perfect.
Nobody's perfect. But I think a lot of people would find it difficult to believe that at 3 years old, like, what were you like, and what were some of those beliefs that you grew up in, and what was that household? Because from what I understand, you and Alex really created who you are and worked at it and designed it. I know that because I know you guys. Yeah. But a lot of people think you just kind of came out like this, right onto Instagram. But it's not true. So what was it like for you?
3 years old. I have always been a dreamer. If I have any memories of myself, it's those memories of me just daydreaming about places I'll get to go, and things I'll get to do, and people I'm going to meet. And I have this very vivid memory of me being in our dacha, which is a country house. It sounds very fancy, but it's like a very simple little house. Okay. We had a bit of land and lots of fruit trees, and we were right under the path of an airplane. So like the airport wasn't too far. So I could see all there, Baku, Azerbaijan. So this is right outside of it.
Okay, capital.
Baku is the capital of Azerbaijan, So I remember spending hours just staring at those airplanes in the sky and seeing them fly away. I haven't flown on an airplane until I was 16, and that's when we immigrated to Canada. And this is me, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, just staring at the sky at those airplanes and thinking, wow, these people are flying somewhere where it's different culture, different languages, different everything. So I've always had this massive dream of experiencing different cultures. And I feel like it also came from that feeling of wanting to connect and feel more global. Like I personally just can't understand the idea of nationalism, personally. Again, if somebody is fully accepted, if it works for you, happy, that's fine. But for me, I just always felt like I'm a human, the other person is a human, doesn't matter what language they speak, where they're from. And I was just so eager to go and meet all these humans around the world.
But it must have been nationalist country. I mean, every country is, and I'm sure Azerbaijan is.
Especially that part
Armenia,
of the world.
And it's hardcore.
We are this, and French are very strong in nationalism. Americans, everybody. A lot of countries. What country isn't really? Sure. But I just never had it in me. I'm truly a nomad at heart, which is fascinating to observe, especially now that I have a child. I truly believe we come here with a certain spirit, a soul that already has learnings and wisdom from previous life, from universe. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I know. But all these things were already there, and they don't come from mom or dad because they're very different. I know them very well. It came from the inside. these desires, these dreams. And then, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just always fantasizing and thinking like I will live in different places in the world. And here I am, I've done it, you know. And
but it
I
probably
just
wasn't
truly
that
feel
easy,
grateful.
was it?
Of course it wasn't. I mean,
how do you get from Baku then? What was that like growing up, and what was your family unit like?
I mean, we grew up in a family that was, my parents are very kind and loving parents. And I think I'm very grateful that I got that from them. Like I said, a lot of times people put the pressure on themselves to go and make it in the world so they can give to their child. But as long as they get love, they will be fine. They'll turn out fine. And that's what my parents gave me. And I'm truly grateful for that. We struggled financially. Anytime I say this on the podcast, my dad is like, we were middle class in Azerbaijan. Yes, absolutely. But middle class in Azerbaijan is different from middle class in America, right? Like we had 1-bedroom tiny apartment, and my parents gave their bedroom to my sister and I so we can have a bedroom. And for 16 years of my life, until we immigrated to Canada, they slept on the couches in living room. Right, that's not middle class America. Let's just be clear. Sure. If my dad is watching, I just want to make it clear. Sure. Because, you know, to somebody there, he didn't view himself, of course, as not having, you know, a lot of abundance, because back then people didn't compare themselves so much, and we had a community, and I think that was very important. So as growing up, I had a community, but I saw my parents struggling financially. And I always knew that's something I want to make sure I don't do, like I don't have the same struggle in my life. And then the limiting beliefs, I've observed that since I was little. The judgments, the limiting beliefs.
And you've been able to observe that as opposed to be taken over by it.
Yeah, and I remember even when my mom was, I mean, not my mom, I was like maybe 7 years old, and my mom would have some troubles with my dad. She would come and tell me like, this is what happened. And I would give her relationship advice. And I remember her saying to me, this is pretty good advice, you know? And I felt like really good as a 7-year-old giving my mom advice. But I was exposed to a lot of reality of family, for good or bad. I now can observe that it was for good, because I was mindful of everything I've observed. And I made conscious decisions that I want my life to be different. I don't want the same struggles. I don't want the same drama. I want freedom. I want respect. I want quality relationships. And yeah, I feel like that's the biggest gift we can also get, even if we don't have a perfect life, is that we can decide what we don't want to repeat, what steps, what decisions, what choices that our parents made that we don't want to repeat in our lives. Or maybe we want to repeat because they've succeeded and they're happy. Ultimately, you look at your parents and you say, are they happy? Are they fulfilled? Do I want to be like them when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old? Do you want to be like your parents, you know? Everybody has to ask that question. And if you don't, you have to be mindful, because guess what? They've conditioned our subconscious mind 0 to 6. We didn't get to choose. And now even I, as much as conscious as I am, as mindful as I am, I see myself repeating my mom. I see myself repeating my dad. And then I'm like, it's there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you're mindful, you can break those patterns over time, but it does take a lot of work. So I've struggled a lot. I was a very shy kid. I would say I was very reserved. I always felt like there was a little firecracker inside of me, but I didn't show it until much later in my life. But yeah, I was very quiet and observant. And I think that all the gifts that I have of my life is because I've observed a lot while I was little.
What's the culture like there? Explain what it would be like. What would it feel like if I'm there?
The culture is very sweet and friendly and loud and dramatic. I love it and I hate it. You know, it's like how you have a love-hate relationship sometimes with your family, or, you know, it's very, all those things are nice. It's very close, the communities are very close and your families are very close, but also everybody's in your business and everybody's judging each other. So I always had this love-hate relationship with that, because I don't like gossip. I don't like judging other people. I don't like people being in my business unless they genuinely want to help and lift me. And I'm the same towards others. So yeah, those are the things, again, I've observed as a child in my culture. But also it's very welcoming and sweet. And I grew up in the sun by the Caspian Sea, and I had a really healthy upbringing, I feel like, in many ways. And then certain things that I experienced there really also, I wouldn't want to use the word traumatized me, but definitely made an impact on my life. So at the age of 10, I don't know if I talked about this before on the podcast, but I'll share this now. I only recently made a video on my YouTube channel where I share this. So at the age of 10, I witnessed my grandfather pass away in front of me.
Wow.
So imagine being a 10-year-old. And like, it was so dramatic. He wasn't sick. He was healthy and strong. And he was still working at like 72 years old. And then one day he just had lunch and he was so happy. And he just sat in this chair. And literally, it was just my sister and I in the room. She was 12, I was 10. And we turned around, we turned back to look at him. And he just gone.
Wow.
Gone. 10 years old. And I was like hit with this awareness of mortality.
And how did it make you feel?
I feel like I was shocked. I was definitely shocked. I feel like in a way I'm still shocked. I mean, time does heal everything, but I didn't cry. I didn't have a reaction. And everybody, then my mom came, my grandmother came, they called the ambulance, and then the whole family came because he'd passed away. And all the aunts, they're like, how are you guys doing, me and my sister? And we were just like quiet, kind of shocked by the whole situation. And I kept it inside for many years. I never talked about it, even with my friends. Even I think Alex found out not recently, but much later, after we started dating. But I didn't realize how much it actually impacted me until very recently, because I'm on this journey of healing and letting go of the crap that doesn't serve me, basically. And this is one of the things that came up, because observing death so early in your life, so intimately, and seeing somebody who's so close, because I was very close with my grandfather, really impacted how I looked at life. So I almost, since that early age, had a very close relationship with death as well. Like I knew it can come at any moment, at any time. And in a way, that's what makes me also so eager to do things, because like I don't know what tomorrow will bring. But it's maybe in a way also unhealthy, okay. Because like you're always a bit on the edge and like you're always a little anxious. But also you appreciate truly every single moment you're here. And I feel like it definitely impacted my value system as well. So as much as I love to succeed in life and do all these things, and that was important to me, number one is the quality relationships that I have in my life and how I spend my time with those people around me. So that was one of those big lessons that I got while I was still living back there. Then there was a bit of a war situation happening, because in 1993, 92, that's when Soviet Union broke down. And because before that, Azerbaijan was part of USSR. I grew up speaking Russian. Okay. And then all of that collapsed. And I can only imagine now how crazy that was for my parents. Like, it all seemed like a game. Honestly, I have this crazy memory. We come out of the tube station. This was January 20th. So the troops came. I don't know if it was, I don't want to get political on the show, because I know how people then say, well, those were not the facts. I was 6-year-old, guys. I don't care who it was. But those were the USSR troops. Let's not name whether it was Russian or not. But these were young kids who were on drugs, the soldiers, right, that were given guns and basically went around town shooting people on the street. So we come out of the tube station. I'm at the time five and a half, probably 6 years old. And I see like helicopters flying, like grenades exploding. And me and my sister look at each other. We're like, whoa, this is cool. And meanwhile, my mom was probably like, holy, how are we gonna walk home? And we had a 15-minute walk to go to my grandma's house. And then we're walking. She took us through the small streets. This is probably one of my earliest childhood memories. And literally, these soldiers were just shooting innocent people on the streets.
And they were on drugs? They were just like hopped up on speed or something?
Now, because of, it's been a big thing, it was like a genocide, right? So genocide, they talk about the fact that because how do you just shoot innocent people on the street? So a lot of them were given drugs so they can just do this kind of crazy stuff, right? which is obviously heartbreaking too. And so we're walking on the small street, and I remember turning to the right and seeing there's a soldier with like a, what are they called?
AK-47s probably.
He's standing at the end of the street, and we're crossing the street, and we're like almost at my grandmother's house. And he looks at us, and then he turns the other way.
Wow. So you could have been dead.
Yeah, like literally. But I get more emotional now because I can imagine how my mom felt with two girls, and like any one of us could have been shot, you know?
But you didn't process it. You were a kid and it was like a movie.
No, it was just like a fun game because you're not attached to life then. Even if you were to die at 6, I don't think you're that afraid because you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know what we think at 6. And then just like also hiding because then we got home and everybody had to be on the floor because they were like shooting in the windows.
That's like serious.
Yeah, like that's crazy stuff.
Trauma.
And it is major trauma, I guess. I don't know. See, like I hid it all inside and now it's all coming up because it needs to come up and just like leave because it's not serving my body anymore, because that's also partly I think like why for a big part of my life, like I have like mild anxiety because I feel like the shit can go down at any time.
Right.
Because you grew up with that.
Yeah.
Or anytime I hear a siren, because we used to get those sirens at night, like I go back to being like 6, 7 years old. And some people can say, well, I also experienced that when I lived there. But I feel like everybody observes things differently and absorbs things differently. So for me, it really impacted me. It made me question my safety in this world to a degree, maybe because I was so young.
Yeah.
You know, it was that vulnerable stage of, again, 0 to 6 or 7, as they say. So, yeah, so again, being very conscious and grateful to live in peaceful places in the world and appreciating, again, every moment of it. But yeah, that's just part of my childhood.
So, yeah, getting shot at 6, grandfather dies at 10.
Yeah.
And then how were the teenage years?
Teenage years were... they went by fast. I mean, I just daydreamed most of it, to be honest. I just didn't want to be there. I wanted to be in North America. It was just like a calling. We have to live in America. And I'm so grateful to my parents to do this whole immigration process because it took a lot of money and time and obviously effort on their part. And then
did you make them do it? Did you sell them on it?
It's a mixed story because my dad always says, it's not fair that you say that. That you guys made a decision. It's true. Of course, it wasn't just us, but it was a mutual decision. My dad always wanted to experiment and experience living abroad. That's why he went to university in Ukraine. He studied in Moscow. And he always was excited to also, I guess maybe I get that spirit from him a little bit as well. But it was a huge decision to leave like we have a huge family back home, to leave a reputable job. He was working at BP and making great money and just like life was just starting to pick up for him. And then, you know, we were very vocal about the fact that we want to move to the States, whatever it takes, we're just gonna make it happen. America, you know how they say it, like we were sold the American dream and that's what we envision for ourselves. And he said, you know, let's just do it as a family. Let's immigrate to Canada because that was one place that was accepting people at the time.
Okay.
And it took us 3 years, I think, like this whole immigration process. And then I remember we got the letter in mail, like 3 years later, like just waiting and praying and daydreaming. And then this letter came and it said, basically, you have a month or 2, I can't remember exactly, like you have to pack your bags and go. We were so excited, but I can only imagine what it took now as I'm a parent on their part to do this big decision and step into the unknown and move to the other side of the world and be responsible for 2 kids. Well, we weren't that young anymore, but still. So then I moved to Canada and
what happens if Mimi stays?
Oh my God, if I stayed there, I can't imagine, Brian.
What do you think?
My soul would have been crushed. It's like being a caged bird. I can't imagine. Honestly, I'm so grateful. The moment I stepped on that airplane, because that was the first time I flew, right? I vividly remember the moment I stepped on the airplane, I felt like I walked into a dream because I visualized this so many times that when I stepped on the airplane, I was like, holy, oh my God, this is my life. No, this is a dream. I can't be, like, this can't be real. And then I felt like I'm still in that dream to this day. I'm still living that dream and I'm truly, truly grateful because I know this is special. Not everybody gets to live their dream.
Could you not have done what you did while still being there?
No.
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 Just because you wouldn't have been around people with the mindset to do it?
Or maybe yes, who knows really. I don't want to be so black and white.
But it feels like you couldn't. You had to kind of go.
Yeah, you have to because
Sometimes we
you're
all have to
exposed
go.
to different people. You're exposed to different cultures. And that's why I love moving to different places in the world. And we immigrated with Alex now to the UK. It's been like probably a little over 6 years, or it's going to be 6 years in July actually. So we've been here now for 6 years and we talk about possibly moving somewhere else. I don't want to belong to one particular place. I want to experience many different things, many different lives in one life. That excites me. And I feel like when we live in different places, we get to take a part of that city with us and like keep it in our soul. And it becomes part of our identity. And to me, that's a blessing. I think everybody has such different journeys. You don't have to do that. Not everybody has to do that. But does it excite you? For me, it does. So that's the answer to me. Anytime you're considering something, a job opportunity, marrying a person, or even dating a person, let's start with something small. You have to ask yourself, does it excite you? Because if it does, then you should keep going forward. And if it doesn't, then, well, you know the answer then. It has to excite you.
And so how does a 16-year-old girl with, from a communist country turn into an entrepreneur in Canada? Like, how does that happen?
I mean, it was a long journey, bro.
Yeah. But you must
of course,
also
it was a long journey.
You must have had weird relationships with money as well, and watching your parents and being in a country where, it didn't have like a capitalistic streak in it.
Yeah,
I'm sure people were hustling, but
it's very corrupted. A lot of entrepreneurship ideas or visions just get shut down because it's just a whole different structure of how people do things.
Right.
But in Canada, if you're an immigrant especially, I feel like the reason I'm emphasizing immigrant is because a lot of people who grew up in Canada or who were born in Canada, they're just so comfortable because they've always had this nice, comfortable life. But the immigrants that come into the country, they're hungry and eager. If you look around Toronto, for example, one of the biggest, if not the biggest city in Canada, most of the businesses are owned by immigrants. It's incredible. It's inspirational. These people came into the country not speaking the language. They had so many disadvantages if you compare them to a local. And yet they went through all this adversity and managed to create a successful business and employ other people. It blows my mind. And
why can they do that? How?
Why? Because they're used to adversity. Adversity is good. Looking back at my life, I never feel sorry for myself. I might have in the past because I was maybe in that mentality a little bit of like, oh, poor me, how come I had this kind of childhood or upbringing, or how come we didn't have much financial freedom. But now I wouldn't change anything because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't appreciate the things I have. I wouldn't have worked as hard as I have. Becoming comfortable makes you complacent, and that's the worst thing. Because you just don't do anything. You're just like, meh, life's good. It's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to label it, but when you have a dream and you want something, it's not just going to happen. You have to work for it.
And what was your dream at 16? What did you think you wanted to be?
I wanted to be a Hollywood actress.
Of course. The truth comes out.
Yes, but I mean, I'm in front of cameras, so in a way I got there. But
did you think about going down that route?
Yes, I took drama in high school, and it's the only subject I enjoyed. Okay. I was so fascinated by the fact that you can act and be somebody else. And even though I was the shy girl, I could go on stage and be confident and be somebody else. And it just felt so empowering. And I always had this vision of me being on stage. I didn't know what exactly I would be doing, but I just felt like I belong there and I feel good there. But it was scary at the same time. And I remember, I just remember dreaming about, going to Hollywood and doing all of that. But I was realistic. I knew that the chances of that happening are very slim. It's not like people go on these X Factor shows and they're like, I'm a singer, and then they start singing and it's like, come on. So I wasn't delusional about that, but I still believe that there's a chance that you can beat the adversity in your life and you can somehow get there. And I feel like in a way with what I'm doing, I found a little niche and I've executed on that niche. Like the idea of YouTube, if it wasn't for YouTube, truly I wouldn't be here.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.